So we're here a little bit earlier than normal with you guys because I didn't really want to get too much into the game with regards to doing the podcast later and then talking. I wanted you guys still to have an opportunity to watch the game as well and the ending of the game. So I thought I'll bring it a little bit earlier for you guys so you can obviously also see the finale of the game, as well as something popped up that I really need to take care of. So I'm here a little earlier and I'm here with Sip for so long. I don't know who else is going to join the stream with us. We're going to be talking about learnings in the World Cup as a wicket falls in the match between New Zealand and Australia. Obviously, the captaincy from Kane Williamson. I just want to talk about that because I think we can learn from other teams, other countries, and what they've done, Sipo. Uh, and I think that's mainly whatever happens in the final. It doesn't really matter to me because it's what gets you up to that point that is the most important thing for me. The final, anything can happen on the final. Not always the best team doesn't always win. Sometimes the best team doesn't win. So we never know what's going to happen in this one. I want to look at Australia first and foremost leading up to this point because what I was impressed with was the mental side of the game. Now, Australia somehow they went into this World Cup with a lot of people doubting them. And a lot of people didn't think they would have gotten out of the group. A lot of people tipped South Africa to be ahead of them when it comes to that. But here we are sitting, and they made it into a final of a World Cup. So from their perspective, I think something that Australia does mentally is just above, like better than the rest, and it's something that they do consistently. Because even when they don't have a star-studded lineup, they still take it far. They still do well. They still put pressure on other teams. They still get out of pressure situations, which is excellent, I think, from an Australian point of view. And I think that's something that South Africa can learn. South Africa can really learn from that when it comes to the mental side of the game. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's about choosing your moments. Um, so what a lot of South African fans would probably be complaining about is that net run rate and the fact that we might have beaten England in the last game, but was too little, too late because we didn't beat Australia in the first game, and that was the game that really decided our fate. After that, we were fighting a losing battle, you could say, because you just didn't choose the right moment to attack. Nice to see you, Ravi. But yeah, it's about BMT in the right moments, choosing the right moments to attack, whether it's throughout a whole tournament, whether it's in a game, you're choosing to attack in the power play or at the end of the game in the middle overs. It's about selecting the phases properly and playing the situation much better. So if we had like the net run rates in the back of our minds, not that I think we didn't have it, I just think we didn't manage it as well as we could have, especially in the
Mm.
Bangladesh game. We tried to accelerate, but it got reckless. And then we had to slow down, and that sort of cost us with the net run rate. But at the same time, we did beat England at the end of the group stages, um, which 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 was a very good thing to do. Because if we're looking at England, for example, they also didn't pick the right moments to sort of dominate. Dominated the West Indies at the beginning, came out really, really hard, but then towards the end, in the semi-final, it just wasn't enough to get past New Zealand. So, but with all that said, though, T20 is a game of fine margins, and yeah, I think what we can take away, the best thing that we can take away from this tournament is the fact that we didn't choke. You know, this wasn't a
Mm.
tournament where we choked. We fell short, but it was literally only in the first game, and we also batted first as well, which statistically proves a very difficult thing to 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 do and win. So yeah, there's it's about picking our moments. Yeah.
Mm. I think a team, Ravi, that we can really learn a lot from is someone like New Zealand. Looking at New Zealand and what they've done, they went under the radar. They go under the radar and do their business, and they just go about playing their style of cricket. They go and win the Test Championship. They made it into a 2019 World Cup final against by far favorites England, and actually took it to a draw and then super over. Now they're in the T20 World Cup final, which nobody would have expected either. So it's something that's crazy that they've done in their setup and in their, how can I say, in their progression going into this World Cup. It's been excellent, and what they do with their cricket in general.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, firstly, good evening, everybody. And Khali, thanks for setting up a podcast in the middle of a World Cup final. I mean, I'm greatly indebted to you for that. The jokes aside, New Zealand have been playing an exciting brand of cricket for the last 2 years or so. We've seen what happened in the World Test Championship. Again, same story where they slipped under the radar. Everybody was basically paying attention to India and England. Meanwhile, New Zealand just crept under the radar and actually blew everybody away, surprised everyone, and defeated India in the home of Test cricket, or rather, not even home of Test cricket, sorry, Southampton. But still, to come from straight out of left field to do that is absolutely incredible achievement, and I think it's certainly carried over to the other games. We've seen them in 2015; they made it to the World Cup final. Also, having a very decent team. Again, creeping under the radar. They're the perpetual dark horses, And one thing I don't have to say is that neither of my favorites are actually in the final at the moment. I said right in the beginning of Pakistan, we're going to go all the way and take it. And it shows you, as Shepard quite rightly said, it's a game of fine margins. And I think New Zealand's been one of those teams that have taken every opportunity they've been given and made the most out of it. They have the most complete team in every sense of the word. They've got a player for every occasion you need for a game. Take Mitchell as an example. Look what he did against England. England pretty much didn't even have an answer to him. It was just a rapid onslaught. We went to an AGM meeting here in Sandton in Johannesburg, and rather my wife was there. And next door, the game was playing. And I, of course, naturally meandered away from the AGM meeting to watch Mitchell's innings. And I was the biggest cheerleader for New Zealand at the time. And boy, that was an incredible innings. And it was just sad to see him not capitalize on that momentum today. But what a brilliant knock from Kane Williamson in particular. He did the same thing again in the World Test Championship. And he's just a player for the big moments. And I just think that that's kind of like what separates the goats from the sheep. You need that guy to step up to the plate or step up to the crease in this instance when the moment calls for it. And I think we can certainly be proud of South Africa's campaign in spite of the many challenges, both pretty much off the field challenges, if you will. And they all rose to the occasion. Just unfortunate that they didn't have enough to make it to the Final Four. But so be it. That you can't really say anything bad about the South African cricket campaign this time round.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's those pressure moments are so important. And you mentioned it there, Kane Williamson stepping up in a final the way he did is incredible. And no matter what happens, he's basically done his part in this particular game as an individual. Now it's his turn as a captain to actually rally the boys together. So this is something that South Africa's always struggled with. I feel pressure moments was always the key, and I've seen an improvement during this World Cup, how they continuously got better and better, and pressure moments they actually got over the line. They put themselves in a difficult situation, and they've gotten themselves out of it throughout this campaign. I've seen this with some of the players as well. There are a lot of players in this particular team that are learning how to play pressure moments well. They're increasing that extra little bit of margin, and they're closing the gap on that with regards to closing pressure moments. I think Rassi's very important to that. I think Aiden's been excellent to that. Anrich Nokia has been very good to that. Debre Shamsi as well. I think he's been excellent with regards to that as well. So yeah, and Ravi, I know I started this podcast in the middle of a World Cup final, like you said. Something did pop up early on, but also I thought, at least you guys can get the end of the game without disruptions from our part, because we're going to go live basically towards the end of this game, because this game is probably going to go to the wire. So I'm going to add Abai also to the stream. Welcome to the show, Abai. Just keep your mic on mute. So yeah, Tipo, you wanted to say something before I
Yeah, I
started?
wanted to just add to what Ravi was saying about picking the moments and people really stepping up. If we're looking at the New Zealand team, Kane Williamson had his performance today that took the team to a decent score. That 83 was very good. In the previous game, it was Mitchell. The game before that, it was Conway. And what you're seeing is that it wasn't always one person that took the team over the line, especially in the T20 tournaments. There needs to be contributions from every single member of the team. And what we've seen this tournament is a lot of different like performances from different players, but it just didn't get us over the line this time. It got us close, but just not quite over the line. I feel like the likes of Quinton de Kock must feel disappointed with his World Cup campaign, not really contributing as many runs as we know he can, and as he knows he can, and as he knows he should have. Maybe if he got 10 extra runs at any certain point, it could have made a big difference. So what we need is that we need people, even when they're not firing this game, like they need to be due one, and then they need to like cash in on that. Rassie van der Dussen did it. Aiden Markham did it for us. David Miller finished the innings for us when we really needed him to. Even KG Rabada in the Sri Lanka game, like pulled his weight a little bit. So that's the thing. Every person needs to pull their weight. Otherwise, it's going to be a struggle. So yeah, that was the problem.
Yeah, very catching on crap in the live chat, private chat here, guys. So let's just chat a little bit more about this, because I want to take it further with regards to South Africa. Now, you guys might have seen a cheeky thing that I did in the thumbnail of this particular video. I said that this is learnings from the T20 World Cup, but there's a picture of Yanaman Malan on the cover sweeping, because I think that this was a trick that South Africa might have missed when it comes to having another attacking batter in the squad. And I think Yanaman Malan needs to be someone that they need to try and work into this team. He's shown how aggressive he can be. With the next T20 World Cup being in Australia, it's on wickets that will suit him as well. So I think that that's something that we really need to look at towards the next World Cup and really get him in there, because he's the one of the number one choices in the ODI side already. He's really stepped up, scored a couple of centuries, really been excellent in the ODI format. And I think that in the T20 format, he can do an excellent job as well. He just needs to get out of his head, I feel, and just play his natural game, and he'll be okay. Like a lot of people, I saw on Twitter, people having a go at me. I asked people what they feel about or what they've been thinking about from a South African cricket perspective, and some guys, said some things. I don't know how a general topic or question like that can cause so much debate, but I did. And then someone asked about having a brand of cricket and what sort of brand should South Africa play, and my opinion on this was that let's pick a core group of players that are adaptable first. If we can get a core group of players in a squad or on a team that are adaptable, that can play no matter what the conditions are, because I think the best players in the world have the ability to change their play according to the conditions. It doesn't matter where they play, that they can perform no matter what. So South Africa do have a small bunch of players that can do so. I think Aiden Markram has quickly become that. I think Quinton de Kock has also become that in the grand scheme of the words. He's just lacking confidence. It's not a technical thing that Quinton is failing at. I think it's just purely a confidence thing. He just needs to get one or two 250s under his belt, and I think he'll go on a little run. We've got guys like, I feel Rassie can do that similarly now. He's shown that he can. He's a little bit better against spin than he used to be. He's really worked on that sweep shot, and he's really worked on certain ways to play spin. We've got adaptable players like, I think Anrich and KG have learned to adapt themselves to slower wickets a lot better. I think Dwayne Pretorius now showed what he can do on slower wickets as well, especially with those wider deliveries that he's bowled. Shamsi's been excellent, and I think Shamsi, because of his experience in South Africa, he's done it at Paul, he's done it at Newlands, he's done it now in Abu Dhabi. I'm sure he can do it in India as well. So I think the Braves is a bowler from a bowling perspective that can also play towards the conditions. But specifically when it comes to batting, with it being with a team and a squad, I feel that building a hub of adaptable players first, and then filling the gaps according to conditions after that. So if we can fill up like at least 11 or 12 players in the squad, maybe less than that if you want to go 8, 9, around about there, and have adaptable players from for about half of them must be at least adaptable. Then you have a strong core in your first 11 that can really be adaptable no matter what the conditions. And then you can look what is missing in the side. Maybe there's a finisher that you need. Maybe there's a hard hitting number 5 or 6 that you need. Maybe there's an extra spinner. Maybe there's an extra seamer. Whatever the case may be, according to where you're playing, then you can just add those to the squad according to conditions. And the brand for me will come by itself because I feel that South Africans, particularly South Africans, they play naturally an attacking brand of cricket. I don't think it was there needed to be too much emphasis on that. But in the recent squads that have been picked, and I think selection is probably a massive point when it comes to any of this, we have picked a lot of guys that maybe don't take some time to get in at the crease. And too many of them may be in one particular squad. Now, that will be a criticism that a lot of people would have had, because that's why I feel there's a guy like Yanaman should be included in this team. He's one for the future. So when it comes to brands of cricket and looking forward, Abai, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with what I said? Are you a guy that believes that first have a brand of cricket and then you can select your players according to that brand?
You know what? Actually, we're on the same page for the most part here because if I were to come up with like an academic parallel, if I'm taking a new course, I'm not one who like, oh, I want to get an A because I believe that grades are incidental. If you study well, if you learn things properly, it'll show in when you take the exams, right? So I think similarly, South Africa, I think there are areas of improvement. Even when things are going well, there are always opportunities to get better. I think when it comes to the finisher, you can't really pin your hopes on one guy, David Miller. It's time to recruit maybe another option. I'm not sure who that's going to be right now. Maybe someone like maybe Vian Libba. He only played 2 games against Pakistan, and I don't think he ever got any chances after that before the World Cup. So, but then again, there are some good signs. Like we have the now second best bowler in T20 cricket, and the Pacers, especially Andrik Nokia. He's been a fantastic find. He can bowl. He can bowl pretty much any time in the innings. He can bowl tight spells and take wickets. He's pretty much been like the strike bowler for South Africa.
It's for me personally, it's always been the case of Tabraj Shamsi will always be the best for me. So I know that he's in the rankings, not currently, but he's currently still the
He
best for
still
me. I
is
think what
world
he's done,
class.
yeah, what he's done in a short space of time is just excellent. Um, so on my part, you know, this particular channel, of course, South African, very much South African based, and we're going to be talking a lot about South African cricket here on this channel until we franchise it into other brands, of course. I'm keeping an eye on the World Cup of year as well. Obviously, keeping a close eye on on
Yeah,
Australia's
get a
chase.
wicket. Come on, get a wicket.
Yeah, and so it is quite a kind of like a combined show. We're doing a little bit of a watch along in a way, as talking about some interesting cricket as well. So like I said again, I don't want. We started the show a little earlier because I didn't want to get too much into the World Cup, but eat away too much of the end of the World Cup, because you guys would obviously want to see the last bit, because I think this World Cup is obviously going to go to the last bit. If we start a stream that's at the end of a high chase from Australia, I think you can miss Aaron Finch, who's out already, so it doesn't really matter. So you can miss David Warner and Mitchell Marsh. Who cares about them? You don't really want to watch their bat. I'm just kidding. So, Ravi, I want to hear your thoughts on looking ahead at Australia now. I mean, obviously, Australia being in the World Cup, we now know that Australia, they'll always come to the fall in major tournaments. That's something that always happens with Australia. No matter what the tournament is, no matter what their squad is, no matter who they have available to them, They always they have play their best cricket in World Cups. It's been consistently like that throughout the years. So, what is your thoughts on what we can learn from Australia going forward, and particularly because the next T20 World Cup will be in Australia?
No, absolutely. I think Australia is one of those teams that just full of surprises. I think historically, when it comes to the T20 World Cup, as we know, Australia, in fact, both these participants in the final, neither of them have actually won the T20 World Cup. So this will be a first for either team, whomever is victorious tonight. Um, and automatically, it seemed that there was a general consensus that, yeah, they'll play well, but they won't win the big one. And here we are. I think Australia have everything to gain from this experience, especially considering the Ashes is not that far from now. They will want to go into that series with a big win like this on the belt. In terms of lessons learned from Australia, I think they backed their side 100%. They didn't make any wholesale changes throughout the tournament. You'll notice that they backed the likings of Mitchell Marsh, as well. They've indicated that Marcus Stoinis is the guy to go to in those game-changing scenarios, and he certainly delivered in every sense of the word. And he also serves as a backup bowler as well. And they've stuck it out with David Warner, in spite of having a terrible IPL campaign this year, even by his own admission. So I think one thing we can learn from Australia is that, and it's something I think we've adopted quite recently, is that they've backed their decisions. They remain consistent in their team, regardless of what opinions are saying about the side. So there's so much we can learn from that, and it's quite a powerful message to maintain the same team in spite of public opinion. That speaks volumes for me, and I think that also naturally grows the side's confidence as well. You see Mitchell Marsh, they invested quite heavily in bringing him back into the fold. He almost entered the wilderness, but here he is bowling in a very significant, or he was at least like half an hour ago, bowling a very significant part of the game. Hazelwood as well. They backed him 100%. They said, you know what? We're not going to typecast you in red ball cricket anymore. We think you're a white ball specialist as well. So let's just bring you into the fold in the T20 setup. And I think this has certainly worked out very well. And lastly, Adam Zampa, incredible bowler. And I think severely understated as well. Even by my admission, I underestimated the quality, the caliber of a player in the form of Adam Zampa. I didn't realize how economical. I think Abai can probably come in here in terms of the stats, but I didn't realize how economical Adam Zampa is, and that for me is almost as golden as being a key wicket taker as well in this form of the game, as we know. So I think all of those things have worked very well in Australia's favour, and it certainly makes them favourites for tonight's fixture as well. They're still only 1 wicket down. They're 8 overs in. Anything can happen here, folks.
So, wait, Ravi, you left out Glenn Maxwell too, because he may have had he had an excellent IPL. He's had kind of a lean series, lean tournament with the bat, but Finch was able to get the best out of him with the ball. And these days he doesn't bowl that often. And we saw what he did against the South Africans. He bowled in the power play. He got the wicket of Tamba Bavuma, and he went for, I think, around 6 and over. Going back to your stats question, I don't know off the top of my head the exact returns for Zampa, but I know he has gone for just a little less than 6 per over throughout this tournament.
Sorry, can I quickly jump in here? This is sort of out of left field, but it's something that we tend to forget to actually acknowledge until there's like a big ass elephant in the room. We need to find a way to address our country's issues a lot better moving forward, and to have a consolidated and a solid effort and a solid plan for those types of things. Because what we will probably forget, or some of us will forget, but a lot of us won't, we won't forget what Quinton de Kock did, taking a stand for his own beliefs. Now, whether what he did was right or wrong is a conversation that we've had on many podcasts. But the fact of the matter is that there wasn't clarity, and we flipped and flopped, and we didn't address the issues that we have behind the scenes properly. And I think one thing that we need to start doing, and I think we have started doing it, but we're still finding our feet in doing this, is addressing or dealing with these types of like racial issues, for example, with like the quota system and and giving people like credit for what they do. Also, we've been doing it right, or I think we've been making steps forward. I think that Temba Bavuma as well was a fantastic captain throughout this campaign. Just the way he managed that and like his captaincy, like in the field as well, was very phenomenal. I don't think that should be understated. I think that we should actually like look into this and like start treating Temba Bavuma like as a proper captain. He's not just a stand-in captain anymore. We've seen what he can do. We've seen like the atmosphere that he creates in the team, and we can see how he like diffuses tension. Because before that West Indies game, I don't know about you, but I feel like most South African fans were feeling just terrible. Just like throughout the entire day, like for me, I just felt like someone took a dump in my toilets and didn't flush, and now it's stinking up the whole house. So yeah, exactly, just like that. And what Temba Bavuma did was he flushed the toilets, and he was like, okay, let's like play cricket, but let's also not ignore like what happened. It's not like he just bashed Quinton de Kock and he was like, Quinton, bro, how could you do this, bruh? Don't you see that I'm a black guy? He was like, Quinton has his own beliefs. We respect his beliefs. He's a team player, this, that, or the other. And even Quinton after that said, yeah, Temba's a fantastic captain. What we're going to need to see is the team start to galvanize. This team needs to start to like be together. I think that's, I guess, what the selectors were trying to do. Sorry for like another tangent, but um, the likes of like Faf du Plessis and Imran Tahir being left out of the team sort of like speaks to how the selectors wanted to create like a group of players that would always be there, that could sort of like always rely on each other and not have too many moving pieces so that people could like stick together. And I think that's what we saw. It might not have like come across as good as it should have. It could have been a lot messier if this was like 4 years ago. If we had a different captain, it could have been ugly, like the 2015 World Cup. So yeah, we need to like learn how to manage like our racial issues better. We need to stop like throwing it under the rug and ignoring it. We need to just like take it in our stride, because like our country is the country that has this problem, and like, or and maybe it shouldn't even be considered like a problem. Maybe we should do what like the rugby did and just like take it in our stride, and make that part of our identity. Because yeah, I think that's something that we're going to have to deal with in future. Yeah, just because of the nature of our country. So yeah, that's another lesson.
I mean, there's been a lot of emphasis on that, and people improving their strike rates, etc., and especially in T20 cricket. And there's been a lot of criticism that Temba Bavuma has gotten for that as well. Ravi, your thoughts on that particular criticism? Because when we did look early on in the tournament, when we were comparing Bavuma as a captain towards other captains with regards to strike rates, his strike rate was kind of similar. You know what I mean? It wasn't a massive difference between them. And Bavuma's been the only one that got criticism from that. And yes, if he scored that 50 in that one game, it would have changed everything. Everything would have, or the whole narrative would have changed in an instant. So one ball, one shot can waver the criticism. What's your thoughts on strike rate? Because I mean, it has been very difficult to keep a good strike rate in this tournament. You can see in the final as well. Certain batters like Mitchell Marsh can smack a quick 28 of 16, but a guy like David Warner, who's been in good form, 36 of 30 for some point, and then it's massive six all of a sudden changes the whole game, and his whole strike rate flips out and turns around again. So what is your thoughts on strike rates, especially because that and the importance of that? I mean, do you need guys in the team that maybe don't have such a heavy strike rate?
So the strike rate is absolutely important in this game, as is dot balls for a bowler. And the strike rate is just as critical. So I can see there's some merit in those points. But I think before I respond around strike rate in particular, I saw a comment here from Rowan Phillips indicating why should we select Bavuma and other players who's not in form. And to this end, and Abaya might be putting you on the spot there, but knowing you probably whipped out the stats on Temba Bavuma in particular. But top of mind, he has to be by far one of the highest performing or the most or one of the more optimal performers for South Africa in this tournament, surely. But I mean, Abaya, I'll happily hand over to you at this juncture just to unpack that for us. Strike rate or not, Bafuma got runs on the board.
Actually, a little something different I wanted to say about the captain. So I firmly believe that players can modify and change their game for the better, and the fans that criticize, that go over the top with criticism for Bavuma, I feel like they're too caught up in his not so good performances, should I say? But at the same time, he can improve his game. We've seen at domestic level, like he's able to score quickly. I know this is a bad argument because there's a big gap in quality between domestic and international level, but we've seen a lot of players modify their game in recent times. For example, I think Kane Williamson is a good talking point because he isn't necessarily known to be the quickest scorer, but based on the situation, he's found his MO, his modus operandi. So he was at around ball 21, and then after the drop catch, something clicked, and he was able to manipulate the field. Neither Bavuma nor Williamson are known to be big hitters, so most of their quick scoring is going to come through finding the gaps as well as frequent singles. So I think as far as Bavuma is concerned, more open-mindedness is required, and I think he will deliver. I think he has that fighting spirit in him. He has the potential, and the best part is he's now a full-time captain. So when Quinton de Kock was captain, that was a temporary thing, but at least one key issue has been solved by nominating a full-time captain, and I hope things will change for the better.
Sipa, I mean, there's no doubt that he does need to improve his strike rate in general overall to keep his spot in the T20 team specifically. Although he has stood out in this particular World Cup as one of the best batters in the tournament, in this particular tournament. Although Rassie and Aiden stole the show towards the end, and Temba didn't really bat much towards the end. For him to really be a force and to get critics off his back, he'll probably need to perform a lot quicker and a lot more consistently if he wants to keep that position. The captaincy's kind of kept him. His captaincy has kind of kept him his spot in the team. And I hope that doesn't happen with regards to cricket, because in cricket it's a bit different. I feel a captain has to perform. I don't think that having a captain that doesn't perform is something that you should have in a team. If you look at some of the top teams, okay, Australia, Aaron Finch has been off for quite some time, so it's maybe different there. But with other parts, you look at Owen Morgan, you look at Virat Kohli, you look at Kane Williamson, you look at all of these guys, usually under pressure, usually in critical situations, they perform, they put on the runs on the board. You know what I mean? And a lot of them are some of the best batters in the world. Babar Azam is another example. So we want the same thing from Temba Bavuma. We are right at this moment, we expect that from him. And it's right for us as a fan base to expect that from him. And if he doesn't continue to do that, do you see that maybe giving the captaincy to someone else before the next World Cup is even in? Do you see that as even a possibility?
That's a big maybe, because there's still lots of cricket to go. Especially there's a big home season coming up. I think there will be a lot riding on that. But at the same time, well, even if I had to think of another captaincy option, I'd probably gravitate towards Maharaj because he did it most recently, won a series in Sri Lanka. But I think it's probably a better approach to just take it game by game, day by day, because I think it's better to have a more positive outlook.
Yeah, and in terms of captaincy, you mentioned it now. Like, if we compare Temba Bavuma to other T20 captains, like Kane Williamson, like Aaron Finch, who are now in the T20 like final, Kane Williamson had a very average campaign until now, until the final, where he got the 80, but he got everyone else to like perform. Like, he got the best out of his team. Um, which I think is like fantastic. And before I mentioned Keshav Maharaj, I thought he was going to say like Aiden Markram, but it's Aiden Markram in the future. But the problem with not having Timba Bavuma there is, or putting the captain's armband on Aiden Markram, is that when you put the captain's armband on someone, it's going to take a toll on their score because now it's not that they're only focusing on their game, they have to control the whole team. We saw what happened with Quinton de Kock, it happened there. We saw what happened with Hashim Amla during the test. It happened there. The captaincy is not something that you just hoy around willy nilly to anyone that performs well. So people are saying, yeah, Temba Bavuma needs to up his strike rate, needs to do this, that, or the other. Temba Bavuma needs to make sure that the team is winning. Number one. That's what he needs to do. Okay. And if the team is winning, that means he's getting the best out of the team. And then after that, I think that's when his contributions need to start. We need to start looking at his contributions. And the fact is, it's not like he's just sitting there like in the 20s. No, forget the 20s, sitting there single digits, innings after innings after innings. Yes, he strikes slowly, but sometimes we need someone to stay in there and get runs. We saw what happened in versus Sri Lanka. If he didn't get that 40, where would we be? We wouldn't have David Miller like able to finish the game for us later. And I mean, if we give, yeah, and I've already said this, if we give the captaincy to someone else, it's going to take a toll on their score. Like, imagine Quinton de Kock, he's not getting runs, he's being put under pressure because of the captaincy. Where's that going to put him? I don't see him coming out from that. He doesn't have like that nuggety type of character that Temba Bavuma possesses. We need someone like that has mental fortitude, um, because like on the big stage it counts. So when it comes to captaincy, whether it's Test, whether it's T20, it's about being able to get the best out of your team. Number one, first and foremost, before your score. Because I can remember when AB de Villiers was captain, guys, it was not like it was nice. We're like, yo, what a great guy to be as captain. But now we're hearing stories about this guy, and we're like, was he really that great? I mean, he was a superstar, but was he? Was he captain? Was he a captain? Did he get the best out of the team? Faf du Plessis was a great captain, terrible in the 2019 World Cup. But you see, like how these things change. You know, like one time you're doing well, another time you're not. So if we look at him like retrospectively, if we look at like Temba's performance and the team's performance under his leadership, I think there'll be a totally different picture painted. I think, yeah, we do ourselves a favor by like actually checking that out. But
Yeah.
I'll be happy to be corrected if I'm wrong. But I want stats.
Yeah.
Stats.
Okay, so guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. We're gonna do another show tomorrow evening, a little bit more in depth about the final, what we learned from the final, all of those type of things. And because I want to let you guys go and watch the rest of this final and enjoy it fully, let it mull in your heads. I want you guys to come to the live chat and put your thoughts in the live chat tomorrow. You would have had a day to think about it, and we can go hectic in tomorrow on a nice live stream, interactive live stream with everybody. Thanks a lot for coming and tuning in, guys. Thanks a lot for watching the show, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Take care.